Hi folks, there's plenty of material on YouTube debunking the drivel of Christianity and Islam, but there's not much about the slop that one finds in Buddhism. So that's what I'll be tackling in this video. When you compare Buddhism to other religions, it comes across as being relatively sane, and for that reason it tends to escape criticism and gets off largely scot-free. But as we'll see in this video, we don't have to look too hard to find the same kind of hatred of truth, the same kind of madness and sheer arrogance in Buddhism that we find in any other religion. In this video, I'll be examining the views of a Buddhist teacher who calls himself Ajahn Brahm, but whose name is also Peter Betts, originally from England. Now, the biggest target the Buddhists paint on themselves is the one of reincarnation or rebirth. It's the idea that when we die, something leaves this body and somehow makes its way elsewhere, where it goes into the production of another being, such as an animal. Now, for many Buddhists, this is a core belief of their religion, just as for Christians it might be a core belief for them that Jesus died for our sins and rose again. But since there's no logical reason to believe in such rebirth, Buddhists desperately look to science for proof to underpin their religion, in the same manner as you find Christians trying to scientifically prove the existence of Noah's Ark. In this first clip I'm going to show you now, Peter is talking about the work of Ian Stevenson, a researcher who published a work called 20 Cases Suggestive of Reincarnation.
Finding people who said they'd lived before, young children, and filtering out every case which could be explained by other means, and choosing in his first book 20 cases which could not be explained by any other ways except the obvious way, that these children had lived before.
Can't be explained in any other way than that they lived before. So what we learn from this is that Buddhist monks can't have much imagination. Stevenson, the researcher, was dealing with stories of children interpreted by their parents and then interpreted by himself, and which can't be falsified. And this is what monks are using to try to justify Buddhism. One question people want to know from Buddhist monks is, since the human population is increasing, where are all the extra souls or karmic streams coming from? Peter has a ready answer to that one.
As the number of animals in this world, especially the so-called higher animals, have decreased, so the human beings have increased. That's actually basically where many of us have come from.
And there you have it, straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. That explanation would certainly go a long way towards explaining the stupidity of so many Buddhist monks. And don't you just love the humility of this guy? I mean, instead of just saying, I don't know, which would be the honourable and human thing to do, he's just making it up as he goes along.
I think that Professor Ian Stevenson is like a Darwin, sort of, putting this in great scientific research, for people, but not being accepted.
Like Darwin, eh? Let's see how much the monk knows about evolution.
But, for evolution, how does that actually work? What drives evolution? It's not just by chance. It's actually what drives evolution is a desire and craving to evolve.
What drives evolution is desire and craving to evolve. So, Darwin had it all wrong then. Evolution doesn't happen because of natural selection, acting on variation in population. No, it happens, according to this monk, because of desire and craving to evolve. What happened to humility? Why can't people at least remain silent about things of which they know nothing? Or at least speak with some degree of caution and reservation? Next up, Peter tries to argue for rebirth using an argument from cause and effect.
This is actually that chain of cause and effect. It's exactly what happens a human being when they die. It's a whole chain, which you can actually see a connection from moment to moment to moment. But when you get to the new life, there's hardly anything which is in the old life, which is now in the new life. Except if that old mango was drought resistant, the new one is likely to be. If the old mango was sweet, the new one is likely to be sweet. That's what we mean by karma. It's those tendencies, those inclinations, the qualities. That is actually what goes across.
Did you hear that? He said, when you get to the new life, there's hardly anything from the old life, which is now in the new life. Hardly anything. Hardly anything. Bullshit.
So that's actually one of the best explanations of how it works in the theory. But actually how it works in practice is, and I'll tell this to you, it is a truth, I don't mind saying this, I can't prove it, but if you really want to prove it, when you die, then you'll be able to prove this.
When I die, I'll be able to prove it. But what's the real reason that Peter wants to believe in rebirth? Let's hear Peter speak for himself.
And it's very disappointing, a lot of suffering sometimes, because sometimes in this life, it just doesn't go right. Sometimes in just one life it can be just very pathetic. And you see that sometimes things just don't go well, they don't go right, and if this is all there was, just this one life, then this would suck big time. And sometimes you say, you may be having a good time, but it's just so unfair.
So, what Peter's saying here is that he doesn't care whether something's true or not, so long as it makes you feel better. And that's exactly what every lunatic from every religion and every lunatic asylum believes. One of the things Buddhists share with those of other religions is that they create false dichotomies which demonise other people and make saints of themselves. And our friend Peter does exactly this when he argues that either you believe in rebirth in the manner in which he does, or you believe in annihilation, that everything ends with death. But this is a patently false dichotomy. There's a saying that a son is the father reborn. And doesn't the student take something of the teacher? And therefore, isn't the teacher in some manner reborn in the student? The alternative to believing in literal rebirth isn't annihilation at all. And it's really a form of violence to suggest that it is.